While the Conservative leadership race begins another chapter today, this is the deadline for remaining candidates to make themselves known. We're also just a few weeks out from the first debate. Jean Charest is one of those candidates and joined us live this morning here on CB24 Breakfast. Mr. Charest, thank you for being here. Before we get to the sort of policy on what's being discussed here, I have to say, people lead very busy lives, as you very well know. There's a lot of things in the headlines now, Ukraine, COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe they're not following this race as closely as perhaps you'd like them to. But from what some people I think may be seeing, it just seems like an incredibly bitter race between particularly yourself and Pierre Poilievre, sort of what many people perceive to be the front runner. Could you describe as a candidate how you see this race unfolding so far? Because it just seems like A, you're pulling no punches, and B, kind of tearing each other apart rather than bringing a party together.
Well, Nick, this race is about a choice. Canadians, I'm sure that you talk to, and you're very involved in the media and reporting, instinctively know that the choice the Conservative Party will make is between going down the path of American-style politics of, attack dogs and polarization and sloganism, or we're going to remain Canadian Conservatives. And that's at the very heart of this leadership race. The other thing we keep hearing, Nick, everywhere we go is an adult in the room. Canadians want us to choose a leader who is going to be well-grounded, someone with good judgment, someone with a good track record who's going to be able to make us win in the next election campaign. And that's the campaign that I'm running. I'm running as a conservative based on conservative values that have been tested, that I've practiced all my life. And in this leadership race, that's the basic choice that the membership of the party will be facing.
So is conservatism now in Canada what it was when you were, back leading the former Progressive Conservative Party of Canada?
That's a good question. Political parties are institutions that evolve with time. They're living institutions. Every leader marks the party. So the new leader of the party will take the party as is, but of course it evolves. Yet, Nick, the political party of ours, the Conservative Party, is one of like-minded people who believe in certain values. And what are those values? I believe in fiscal conservatism, in a market-based economy. I believe in economic policies that promote growth, that allow people to have more money in their pocket. Conservatism is about supporting families, which is something I believe in. It's about obeying and respecting the rule of law and order, which is an issue on which Mr. Poilievre and I have very real differences. He supported the blockade. I don't think that's something that a legislator should do, especially not someone who says, I want to lead a political party or be prime minister. You can't make laws, change laws, and break laws. And support people who break laws. And the other thing about Canadian conservatism is the way we practice federalism. So it's not exhaustive, but those are the basic values that unite the members of the party and define us in this context. And whoever's the next leader will have a challenge of uniting the party and making it win, which is what I intend to do.
Right. Okay. You've talked about, making life more affordable, and sort of affordability is such a key thing in Canadian, family struggles right now. You've talked about expanding financial support for, kids in daycare, growing national defense as well. So let's talk about the sort of daycare side of things here, because that has sort of been an issue that really the Liberals and New Democrats have really sort of loaded up on. How is your policy going to either enhance or change that?
Well, this is a real economic story, because if we get daycare right, then we're going to allow women in particular, not just, but women in particular, to make the choice of entering the labor market. That's been the experience in Quebec. And that's why I support the agreements that have been signed between the provinces and the federal government, including the one that Doug Ford signed with the government of Canada. I would further expand that for those who are not within the government system so that the tax credit is higher. I would actually take off a federal income tax on the EI compensation that people receive on parental leave. I would extend that flexibility for 2 years. I'd make it more flexible, and I'd even make it more interesting for those who want to integrate the labor market. For example, Nick, if you are working while you're on parental leave, that money will be cut back from whatever compensation you're receiving. I would allow people to receive up to $20,000 so that they can reintegrate the labor market gradually, which makes a lot of sense economically given labor shortages. So this is something that I would support. People know where I stand, and I expect other candidates in the race will also say where they stand on daycare.
Yeah, and we'll hear more about that in the first English debate coming up on May the 11th. That is Jean Charest, federal leadership for the Conservative Party of Canada, joining us again this morning on CB24 Breakfast. Appreciate the time, Mr. Charest.
Thank you, Nick. Goodbye.